G'day guys, I'm just back from a 24-hour camping trip and we've got 27% power left in the EcoFlow Delta Max 2000. So let's see how we got to that. Okay guys, well I have made it out to Rubicon State Forest, which is about 2 hours out of Melbourne, and it's by the Rubicon River here, which is absolutely beautiful actually. It's quite a few people here, and I frankly was lucky to get a spot. I got here fairly late, roughly about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm all set up here. I'll just give you a quick tour. There's Buddy. He's being a pain in the ass. So yeah, this is what we've got set up here. I've actually borrowed a fridge. Mine is not working, so I've borrowed this one, and I've got it running. I got it going in the car on the way out here, and I've now plugged it into the EcoFlow. It's coming in through the window there, and it's plugged in at the back there. So it's been running for maybe about an hour and a half now. It's drawing a little bit of charge there. We've still got 95% left, so it's not drawing a huge amount of power. It's actually freezing cold. I reckon it's maybe about 5-6 degrees, so the fridge is not working particularly hard at the moment, so I don't have any real concerns about it draining the battery overnight, but we'll see what it uses. It's all good research. I've had my drone up and got a few shots, so I'm just recharging that battery now. Yeah, and that there is my box of goodies, which is all the electrical stuff that I've bought to test, and we'll give that a bit of a workout. So my goal here is not to try and sort of drain it of all the power that I possibly can. My goal really is just to have a normal overnight camping trip, do the normal things that I would do. Obviously I'll be cooking with electricity instead of gas, and we'll just see how much power we use, just see if it's sort of got enough juice on board to comfortably get through the night. Tomorrow I'll be here for till early afternoon, and once the sun comes up and sort of gets up in the sky, we should get a fair amount of sun here, and I'll get the solar panels out and see how much juice they can put back into the battery in a few hours. And we'll basically, I'll just keep touching base with you as we go along, and we'll see how it pans out. Someone was getting a bit cold, weren't they, hey? Getting a bit cold? Having a bit of an early night. I bet you'll come out when I start cooking some food, eh? Then you'll want to get out. Nice and warm now. Look at his jacket here, which we'll put on when he goes to bed. This is where he'll sleep. That's my swag over there. I've got the induction cooker running at 1200 watts, which is half power. And even that's a bit on the hot side for sausages, which are better off cooked nice and slow. After cooking for 6 or 7 minutes, the induction cooker started throwing up this error message E5, and it was just shut off. Don't know what's going on here, but it won't stay on. I turned it off and left it for a couple of minutes, and it started working again, and then it shut off again a couple of minutes after that. It keeps shutting off, and getting this error code ES or E5, whichever it is, and I don't know if it's the induction plate or if it's the EcoFlow that's actually switching it off. But anyway, the sausages are cooked, but I've had to keep stopping and starting it all the time. Good morning. Did you sleep all right? Yeah? Your little jacket on? Yeah. So I woke up in the morning and it's at 53%. It was about 76% when I went to bed, which was only about 10 o'clock. So that's just about 20% overnight, keeping the fridge going. Obviously it's a cold night. I reckon it's probably 0 last night. So, you know, on a warm night, would obviously use more than that. Not a super efficient fridge though. You know, a smaller or a you know, a better efficiency fridge would be better. So last night I was cooking dinner and I was just cooking up some sausages for me and Buddy to have for dinner, and I kept getting this error code on the induction hot plate there, which was an E5, and I didn't have the instruction book handy, so I wasn't sure exactly what that was. But what would happen is I'd get this error and it would just switch off, and then I would turn the whole thing off and wait a while and it would start working again. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but I found the instruction book this morning and looked it up and found out that it's actually because the hot plate's actually overheating. The glass ceramic top is overheating. So I didn't realise there was such a thing as an overheating hot plate. So that's obviously a concern. I'll have to experiment with that. I'm going to make some bacon and eggs for breakfast, and I'll cook it at a lower temperature. I won't have it up high at all. We'll see if that fixes the problem. But to be honest, if that's an issue, I don't know if I have to use a different pan, maybe a stainless steel pan, which is fine. I can get one of those. But you know, really the whole point of the hot plate is to get hot. So if that's an issue, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to do a bit of research and try and find a way around that. It's overheated again, but we're nearly there anyway, so that's okay. And how could anybody resist that pleading face? So after cooking breakfast and boiling the kettle a few times, I've got about 20% left in the Delta Max. So I'm just experimenting with the solar panel, and I just want to see if it's capable of generating any power at all with this sort of, you know, dappled light that we've got here. As you can see, there's not a lot of light hitting it. One panel's getting a reasonable amount. Half of it's pretty much in the shade. It's pretty much facing the sun. The sun's up that way. but if you come and have a look, it's getting about 10% at the moment. 50 watts coming in, and you know, its capacity is 400, so we're a hell of a long way from its true potential, which is of course not surprising, because they need full sun to work at their full efficiency. But it's just an experiment. I put it up on the roof first, just to see how, if I had a solar panel permanently on the roof in this kind of environment, and it only got about sort of 20 odd watts with that, so that wouldn't really be doing a lot for us. So obviously, to get any significant amount of solar power, I'd need to be actually in the sun. No surprises, it's just experimenting. It's just interesting to get a bit of a sense of what it's capable of. So if I was to stay here all day, I couldn't really expect to put much back into the EcoFlow based on the sun I've got here. And it's winter, so the sun's never going to get high in the sky. It's going to stay pretty low all day, and you know, surrounded by trees. So as I said, no surprises, but it's just interesting to experiment and see what it can do. I'll get myself a 10-meter extension cable for the solar panel, so I've got more flexibility about where I put it. So even if the car's in the shade, I can actually put the solar panel out in the sun. Alright guys, time to hit the road. I've moved the Delta box down into the front here, it's just sitting on the floor. You can see it's charging there off the alternator, getting around about 100 watts. And that's with the car idling. I've just moved it down here because the cigarette lighter socket in the back is too close to the back tailgate, and if I shut the tailgate, it's jamming on the plug. So obviously once I install it properly, I'll have dedicated points and all that. I'm going to drive for about an hour. We're on 20% charge now, so we used 80% of the battery last night. That's in about 22 hours that I've been here. That's using the fridge constantly. I boiled the kettle about 3 or 4 times, cooked a couple of meals, kept everything charged, kept my my torch, and recharged the cameras a couple of times, so not too bad. I experimented a bit with solar. There's not enough light here to get any realistic amount of solar power, so that's not really a good test for it. If we were somewhere sunnier, I could get the solar panels in the sun, then I would definitely get more than the sort of 20, 30, 40, 50 watts that I was actually getting from the light that's coming through here. So it's all just experimenting. The more you use it, the more you try different things, the more you get a feel for how something like this can work. And so far so good. I'm pretty impressed with it so far. We'll hit the road and drive for about an hour, and then we'll stop and check it out.
I had to say hello. I was going to pull you over back up there before. How you going? You've been travelling?
Yeah, I've just been away for the night.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
My daughter's a massive fan too.
Oh,
Can you say hello?
I just pulled over to move the camera, and these guys said hello. So they get to be in the video now. They've seen the big lap, and they recognise my car. And so if you're watching this video, guys, thanks for saying good day. It's always good to meet people who've seen the big lap and been inspired by it. So that's awesome. And yeah, cool. Alright, so I've made it to Yarra Glen, which is about an hour and 10 minutes away from where we were camped. Just going to jump out and go and check the battery level. Okay, look at that, 25. So we've only added 5% in an hour of driving. 5% we've added in 1 hour of driving, and I've got it plugged in to the main cigarette lighter socket, so it's coming sort of pretty much directly from the alternator. But he's getting a bit excited to get home, I think. So it's interesting, isn't it? That means it would take quite a while to recharge just off the engine. Interesting. I'll keep going. We've got about another half an hour till I get home, and we'll check it in when we get there. Alright guys, well we're back, and it's as you can see we've got 27% of power left, so we added about 7% more to the battery on the 1.5 hour drive back from where we were up at Rubicon River back to my place here in Diamond Creek. Now overall, over the whole 24-hour trip, very short trip, but I'm very happy with it. You know, it's been brilliant, and I can see that there's definitely a place for this in the Landcruiser project build going forward. I looked at the specs, and it's actually it can only take 126 watts from the car battery from the alternator while it's charging. That seems to be a fixed amount, which is interesting because you can fit two 400-watt solar panels and get 800 watts of power into it. Way more power, and charge a lot faster from the solar panels, and they both have the same connection. You see, I've got the other one here. They're both going into the same port, so obviously that makes me wonder why we can get so much more from solar than what we can from the vehicle. Maybe it's designed to just not overtax the alternator in the vehicle. It might be just a safety caution thing. I'm going to find out anyway, because I'm curious to see if we can increase that, or maybe we can have both. Maybe we can have a solar panel, like put a fixed panel on top of the vehicle, let's say 200 and something watt of panel on top of the vehicle, and the alternator, and maybe might be able to combine them both and charge from both sources whilst driving, because really increasing that driving charging would be the goal that I would have based on the sort of trips that we do. Anyway, that's not a recommendation. I'm not suggesting you do that. I don't know. I'm going to find out, and I'll ask people who know about these things, and I'll come back to you once we work it out. Either way, though, I'm thinking that some sort of fixed panel on the vehicle is probably going to be the way to go. Not instead of the 400-watt flexible panel, but as well as. I'm thinking that just having a couple of 100 watts on the roof, one way or another, it's just going to give us that constant feed-in power. I did notice when it was just the fridge running, while it was actually running, it wasn't using a huge amount of power, 50-60 watts. So it just comes on and off. Obviously, it's a thermostat. So having a fixed panel on the roof, even if it was only putting in 50 to 100 watts, on a cloudy day or a sort of a semi-shade position, it might still be enough to keep the battery topped up and potentially even charge it a little bit, even while it's running a fridge. And realistically, the majority of the time, it's only going to be running the fridge. Most of the the things, you charge your phone, you charge your iPad, you charge your camera batteries, they're charged and then they stop. And occasionally you use things like the kettle or the induction hot plate. So it might be that just a couple of 100 watts of solar on the roof is enough to really sort of keep it topped up sort of day to day, and then once we go driving solar and potentially alternator together, we might be able to sort of push a bit more power into it. But anyway, I've got some research to do. I'm actually going to ask EcoFlow directly and see what they come back with, and I'll report back in the next video. So something else I'll look at doing is either replacing this plug with an Anderson plug, so that it's a definite fixed connection. I'm not a massive fan of cigarette lighter sockets. I know they're just a carryover from the old days when there was no other power outlets in a car, and so everything's adapted to that. But these days we've got better fittings like Anderson plugs and things like that, so we can actually get a better solid 100% connection. It doesn't matter what sort of rough road you're going down, it's not going to be jumping in and out and frying your electronics. And the third thing was the induction cooker. As you saw, it sort of overheated and would keep cutting off, and then needed a few minutes to cool down, and then it would start working again. Quite surprised to see that, to be honest. I mean, as I said earlier, I've never used one of these before, so it's all new to me. This is the whole point of a trip like this. It's like a shakedown trip. Just go out and try things and see what works and what doesn't. Learn from it, come back, adapt, try again. And so the thing was, I never really had it over about half power, and in fact lower sometimes. Like when I cooked the bacon and eggs for breakfast, I had it on lower than half power, and it's still overheated. So even when it's only 5 or 6 degrees air temperature, it's overheating. So I'm not sure if that's just a particular thing with that particular induction cooktop, or if they're all like that. Once again, something I need to research. I'll be jumping on Google and trying to find some answers to that. Maybe it's the type of pan. Maybe it doesn't like cast iron, because cast iron is great for retaining heat and getting hot, which is why I use it for cooking steaks and things like that. Maybe it needs a stainless steel pan. If that's the case, then no worries, I'll just get a stainless steel pan. But one way or another, that's a problem to be solved, because it's not like I would really be stressed about not being able to cook a really hot steak, but I just don't really understand why it's got the capacity to have 2,400 watts of power, and even when you run it on half that, it overheats. So anyway, if you've got any ideas or suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to read them. Other than that, it's been a good trip, and I've got another one coming up in about 5 or 6 weeks. I'm going to head out for longer than one night. I'm not exactly sure, maybe 4, 5, 6 nights, something like that. Same sort of configuration, me and Buddy in the Landcruiser. Few things, I just want to go and have a break, go on a camping trip. That's enough of an excuse, but I'm not one to not make the most of it. So obviously I'll be taking the EcoFlow Delta box and doing some more testing. I'll be using it day to day. We'll be driving around, seeing how we can charge it. Hopefully I've answered the question about solar and alternator charging, and we might have a solution for that by then. And I'll make a few videos on that trip, and yeah, we'll just learn more and see what else we can find out. So anyway, that's it, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please leave me your comments and ideas and suggestions and everything down below, because I love hearing them. Thanks, guys. See you soon.